The rain hadn't been in the forecast that night. It came suddenly, like a silent witness to a moment neither of them wanted to relive. Istanbul streets shimmered under the wet glow of streetlights, but to Can, everything felt muted. Like the world had turned down its volume, letting silence speak louder than anything else. He hadn't meant to go. He hadn't planned to be there. But some nights pull you without reason. His hands were buried deep in his jacket pockets, his jaw tense, heart pounding harder with every step toward the hotel entrance. That hotel. The place where everything had once begun, and almost ended. Inside, on the 12th floor, Demet was pacing. She hadn't slept. Not last night, not the night before. The call had come unexpectedly that morning. Someone told her he might be back in town. Just for a day. Just passing through. But when something has once meant everything to you, even a rumor becomes enough to unravel your entire sense of calm. They had promised not to see each other again. Not like this. Not in secret. Not in a place full of memories and echoes. But some promises are made just to be broken. Ken hesitated at the elevator. He could leave. He could turn around, walk out into the rain, and forget he even came. But forgetting was the very thing he had never been able to do. The door opened. She heard it before she saw him. The soft chime. The shuffle of boots on carpet. The pause outside her door. And then, a knock. Not firm. Not loud. Just, unsure. Demet froze. Her hand hovered above her phone, her breath caught in her throat. She could pretend she wasn't there. She could wait it out, let the moment pass. But her feet moved before her mind could stop them. When the door opened, neither of them spoke. For a second, they just looked. Not like strangers. Not like lovers. Like two people standing on the edge of a memory that had never fully healed. "Hi," he finally said, voice low, eyes scanning her face like he hadn't seen it 1,000 times before in his dreams. She didn't reply. She just stepped aside and let him in. It was the same room. Not similar. The same. She had asked for it, weeks ago, long before she knew he might come. Some part of her had wanted to confront it. To face whatever ghost lived in those walls. The air inside was heavy. Thicker than it should be. Thicker with words unspoken and things undone. He sat on the edge of the bed, the same side he had sat on the night they said goodbye. She remained standing, arms folded, back to the window, eyes fixed on the floor. Neither of them mentioned why they were there. Because they both knew. That night, they had fought. Not loudly. Not violently. But deeply. The kind of fight where love turns into silence. Where pain becomes more powerful than words. And he had walked out. No explanations. No closure. Just a slammed door and the echo of something breaking inside her. "Why did you come?" she finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He looked up, eyes already tired. "Because I couldn't not." Demet's lips trembled. "And now that you're here?" "I don't know." For a second, the silence returned. Comfortable in its discomfort. Ken reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something small. A folded note. Worn, edges curled. She recognized it instantly. "You kept it?" she asked, almost afraid to believe it. "I couldn't throw it away. Even when I tried." She walked closer, slowly. The note, the one she had slipped under his door the morning after. The one he never replied to. The one she thought he had ignored. "I read it 100 times, he said, placing it between them. "Every word." Demet sat down beside him, but not too close. Close enough to feel the gravity of the moment. Far enough to protect her heart. "Then why didn't you answer?" Ken let out a breath. "Because I was a coward." She looked at him now, really looked. For the first time in years, he wasn't the confident man the world knew. He wasn't the actor. The icon. He was just him. Broken in the same place as she was. That night, he began, his voice cracking. I thought I was doing the right thing by leaving. I waited, she whispered. You left, and I waited. I know. And every time I tried to move on, something pulled me back. That room, that silence, that stupid note, it never let me forget. He nodded. Me too. They sat there for what felt like hours. No words. No plans. Just the ache of two people who had never truly stopped loving each other, even when they had every reason to. Demet finally stood and walked to the window. The rain was heavier now, tracing lines down the glass like quiet tears. She turned back to him. Do you regret it? She asked. Everything? Ken stood slowly. Walked to her. Stood inches away. No, he said, eyes locked on hers. Because it was real. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. And that night, she whispered. He reached out, took her hand. I hate that night, he said. But I never want to forget it. Because it's the night I realized what losing you really meant. And for the first time in years, they weren't acting. They weren't pretending. They were just two people. Finally facing the night they both wanted to forget, but never could. They didn't speak again for a long time after that. Not because there was nothing to say, but because the silence finally felt honest. Neither of them had planned this reunion. Neither of them had rehearsed how to act, what to feel, or how to breathe when the weight of everything they had buried came rushing back into the room like a storm that never truly passed. Demet turned her gaze back toward the window. The city outside looked so different from when they had last been here. Or maybe it wasn't the city that had changed, maybe it was them. She felt his presence behind her. Not too close. Not intrusive. Just there. Quiet. Real. I stayed in this room the week after you left, she said, still watching the rain. I thought maybe if I retraced everything, if I walked the same steps, laid on the same bed, I'd stop missing you. Did it help? He asked gently. She shook her head. It made it worse. Ken swallowed hard. I wanted to come back. 100 times. But I didn't know how. You just knock, she said, turning slowly to face him. Even if you're not sure you'll be let in. His eyes dropped to the floor. I didn't think I deserved to be. Demet stepped forward, only slightly. Just enough to let him feel that she wasn't hiding anymore. You didn't, she said. But I would have let you in anyway. There it was, the truth. The raw, unfiltered truth that had been kept behind pride and pain and years of pretending they had moved on. He looked at her again, the way he used to. Not like she was an actress or a partner or someone he used to love. But like she was the center of the only story that had ever mattered. You were right, Ken said. Back then. About everything. She tilted her head. I don't even remember what I said. You said that love doesn't survive on silence. That running away doesn't protect anyone. That if I left that night, I'd lose more than just a relationship, I'd lose the one person who ever saw the real me. Her breath caught. And you did, she whispered. You lost me. He nodded. I know. The room felt colder now. Not because of the weather, but because of everything they had never said in time. And now that the words were finally here, they hurt more than either of them expected. Why now? She asked. After all these years. Why tonight? He looked at her, really looked. Because I dreamed about it again. That night. Over and over. And this time, I woke up and couldn't breathe. It felt like it wasn't just a memory anymore. It was unfinished. Demet crossed her arms, but not in defense. More like she was trying to hold herself together. And coming here was supposed to finish it? No, he said. Coming here was supposed to begin again. She laughed softly, bitterly. Can, this isn't a movie. We don't get a clean second act. We carry what we did, and what we didn't do. I know, he said. But I also know that I've loved one person my entire life. Even when I tried not to. Even when I hated myself for it. Even when I dated others and smiled in public and told everyone I was fine. Demet's voice trembled. Then why didn't you fight for me? His voice cracked. Because I was scared I would ruin you. Tears fell freely from her eyes now. Not because of what he said. But because deep down, she had always known. She had seen the fear in his eyes that night. The way he left without truly leaving. The way he disappeared from her life but kept showing up in her songs, in her habits, in her dreams. She took a step forward. You broke me anyway, she said. Even without meaning to. I know. Another pause. Another breath neither of them could fully take. Then she reached out and touched his chest, gently. Right over his heart. It's still there, she whispered. He nodded. It always was. And just like that, time folded in on itself. They weren't two people separated by years and silence anymore. They were two souls, still intertwined, still unfinished. Do you think we could ever, she began, but stopped herself. Can close the space between them? I don't know. I don't want to say the wrong thing. But I do know this, I never stopped loving you. Not for 1 second. She didn't reply. Instead, she reached for the note he had placed on the table earlier. I wrote this, she said, thinking it would be the last thing you'd ever hear from me. I kept it, he whispered. Because it was the only part of you I had left. Demet opened the folded paper slowly. She didn't need to read it. She had memorized every word long ago. But it still hurt, like an old wound that had never fully healed. I wrote it because I thought you needed to hear that I forgave you, she said. Can's throat tightened. And did you? She looked up at him. I did, she said. But I never forgave myself, for still loving you. He pulled her gently into his arms. She didn't resist. Not this time. She leaned into him like it was the only place she had ever felt safe. And there, in that hotel room that had once been the end of everything, they began again. Not with promises. Not with perfect plans. But with something deeper. A willingness to try. To remember. To finally stop pretending they had ever truly forgotten. The night they both wanted to forget, wasn't forgotten. It was remembered. Held. And maybe, just maybe, understood. Because some nights don't disappear. Some nights become the reason we find our way back. Even after all this time. Even after all the silence. Even when we've both tried to forget.